Hello everyone, we're back with Pokemon Champions and we're diving in hard. While scrolling YouTube yesterday and playing or watching some of the pre-champions VGC, I came into a pretty easy conclusion that everyone is spamming weather. On this note, I would love to hear your opinion on weather, which one you like or hate, or if you're just a player who doesn't like weather at all and tries to play against it. For me, sand has always been one of my favorite weathers because even though it's a weather effect and I'm not a super big fan of weather, it is one of the first teams I've played when I started playing competitively in Generation 4. Anyway, back to the topic. Currently, rain is pretty common because it's really easy to pilot. Sun is also common because Charizard Y is really strong. Sand is always somewhere around the corner, and yesterday it won a Smogon tournament of I believe 100 people or 110, it doesn't matter. And snow is picking up because there is a new mega that brings snow to the field. Frostlass, to be exact. So I went cooking and I dug up some sets or tailored some others to fit what would be an anti-meta team. Obviously I'm using the information we have so far. So a disclaimer, take all the information with a grain of salt since we do not even know all the available Pokemon or the exact abilities for most of the new megas. But so far, the meta looks like Regulation 8 without Terra but with megas. Today I woke up and I saw a video made by LakeTwo, who was also talking about the same thoughts pretty much, how weather is pretty dominant and what we could do about it. The video is this, the anti-weather Pokemon you need on your team in Pokemon Champions. This is his channel, I will post the video on the description. I really like what he's done with the topic. Anyway, we're gonna talk about something different, so if you've seen that video, stick around. So, a quick glance at the teams. We have two anti-weather teams. Basically, it's the same team with two different variations, which I will explain why we have them. A pretty classic Japanese Sandstorm team that capitalizes on some of the most common meta threats. And last but not least, what I believe would be a potent team to play on day one of Champions with some access to home without having to spend any kind of currency on Megastones, which will give you some time to have a better perspective of the meta and spend your points on a Megastone that you're actually sure that you would like to play with. I will put timestamps of all the teams so you can skip ahead to any team that might interest you the most. But I suggest sticking around through all of the video because I'm gonna talk about my generic snapshot of the current metagame in quotes, since there is no real metagame, but we're going through what the pre-champion VGC is giving us. Beginning with the first team, this is a team I hope we will have available, but it's easy to fix if we don't. What I mean by that is that currently Indeedee is not confirmed to be in the game, but if Indeedee is not confirmed, then we will get Meowstic. Here there is another underlying issue. Meowstic is suspected to have Psychic Surge. This is not confirmed. So both teams are what I want to run if either of those are true. If neither of those are true, we will fall back to a Japanese Sandstorm style team or Dragapult. We will talk about both of these later. Version 1 is what I would prefer to run. Version 2 is the same philosophy, but obviously we changed the Megastone. So, the core idea of both versions is that we fight snow with our own Sandstorm, and we fight every other weather with Altaria. Psychic Terrain Armarouge is there as a backup plan. It's basically these four that are the main core, and you have indeed the Armarouge on the back for teams that want to run Trick Room, and we can counter it with our own, or at least play in it, because both Hippodon, Altaria and Indeedee Armarouge can play in Trick Room quite easily, and Sneasler or Excadrill can threaten Trick Room. Earlier I was talking about what makes a good team for me. The most success I've had in VGC tournament play was through having both speed control options available to me, so having a fast mode and a slow mode is what I default to the most. Having the option to go Hippo Excadrill Sneasler Altaria, or Indeedee Armarouge with Hippo Exca in the back as a cleaner, or do a mix and match is a really big thing to me. Going a bit more in depth to each mon. Let's talk about Hippo. Hippo has seen some VGC success throughout the years. He's there to do what Tyranitar can't, which is not dying to fighting moves pretty much. Being able to Sandstorm and Yawn is a really nice clutch combo. Having a slow Yawn is really nice because when your opponent switches either manually or through parting shot or through U-turn, it means that you get your Yawn after the switch, so you get a guaranteed Yawn. He sticks around, which is awesome. He provides Sandstorm for your Excadrill and breaks Focus Sash, which is quite common in the early days of a metagame since most people are playing offense. We have a minus speed nature to play better into Trick Room, and also having a slower speed ensures we get both our weather and our yawns in better opportunities. The EV spread is a basic HP special defense spread, so we can leave the most and stick around on the field in opposing ice types. Excadrill has 3 different sets right now: Life Orb, Clear Amulet, Focus Sash. I started with Clear Amulet, I tested Life Orb, and I tested Focus Sash. Watching some of the tournament games also and talking with the person who won one of those tournaments with an Excadrill, I believe Focus Sash is probably the best choice right now. Excadrill hits hard, but he dies really easily, especially to Sneasler, which is a really common Pokemon to see. So Focus Sash helps him stick around and potentially pick up a KO to Sneasler, even without any presence of Sandstorm. We are faster than Sneasler in Sandstorm, but some Sneaslers also run Focus Sash, so it's really nice to have your own backup Focus Sash. Because Sneasler is a really common Pokemon to see both in Psychic terrain and out of it with Focus Sash, it's really nice to have a Focus Sash of your own. Because basically you can hit them, you get their Focus Sash running, they hit you back with a close combat or whatever, they proc your own Focus Sash, they die to Sandstorm, and you're alive. I also have a running theory that I will follow throughout the video. That theory says people will use Intimidate until they realize there is more Pokemon with Defiant, Competitive, or even Mirror Armor. And also, the loss of knockoff on Incineroar is a big hit. And people do not want to give a +2 to Meowstic or King Gambit as an example, or even Milotic in many cases. With that effect, I believe we will see less Intimidate effects. Arcanine, Cantonian Arcanine to be exact, started seeing more play over Incineroar already. Incineroar is still around and it's a really good core with Simicha, but I believe that core will get slowly faded out because it's not that great into many weather teams. Anyway, I would also like to make a quick note here. We're not running Mega Excadrill. He deals less damage than Life Orb Excadrill, he's more susceptible to Intimidate than, let's say, Clear Amulet Excadrill, and as we said, Focus Sash is most likely the best choice for him right now. His new ability, if you haven't seen it, lets him bypass Protects by 1/4, which can be niche, but we're here for maximum consistency. Sandros. It's obviously our ability of choice. Going fast and hitting hard or flinching hard is gonna be what we do the best. High horsepower hits Tyranitar, Sneasler, Incineroar, any kind of fire type that's not Charizard, and we have Rock Slide for Charizard and any other ice type that we might want to hit, or flying type like Pelipper. It's also nice to have a move that hits Corviknight for neutral. The EV spread is the most common spread you will see. Max attack, max speed, adamant nature because we're greedy like that. We want our Excadrill to hit as hard as possible and try to get as many KOs before he goes down. Now, here we have Prime Terrorist number 1. I'm using Psychic Seed over Focus Sash because I believe it's a mon you will bring either versus slower targets that you wouldn't care about Unburden, like Urchaludon, into opposing Psyspam as a cleaner with Throat Chop and close combat, or as a surprise Indeedee on the back. We're also running Sand, so having Sash didn't look the way to go. The spread is also pretty basic. It's max attack, max speed, adamant. We need max attack adamant to get 56% chance to 1 hit KO max hit points Archaludon. You could remove some of the speed for bulk, but I have a strong suspicion that there will be a lot of Snizzlers around, so hitting directly first might be important. Throat Chop has been really nice because there is a lot of Pokemon who use Hyper Voice or other sound moves right now. And also Sinistcha is quite common, so having something to hit here is also nice. The star of the show, Altaria. Here is how we shut down weather without having to fight weather with our own. It's here also to deal with Dondozo, which could be a problem to this team. The fairy typing of Mega Altaria comes really clutch into Dondozo matchups also. Here is some random calculation to give you a better perspective of what Altaria can do. Keep in mind, Mega Altaria gets Pixelate. All calculations are against 2 targets, so Hyper Voice is doing less damage. Any calculation you hear is getting only better in single target. So, Hyper Voice with Pixelate does 35% HP to maximum special defense Tyranitar. Tyranitar hits us back for 15%. Hyper Voice deals 45% to Pelipper, and he deals back 40% if he hits Hurricane. Hyper Voice deals about 20% to Torkoal, but Torkoal deals 15% back with any move that's not Eruption at max hit points, which also does 23%. We are both tanky and we're chipping quite decently. Also, we can talk about some of the common Pokemon you will see next to those setters. Next to Tyranitar, there's a high chance you will see Garchomp. We laugh at Garchomp, who deals a maximum roll of 38% with Earthquake, while we do 55% back to it. We're not that happy to see our Charlton next to Pelipper, but nobody is. We keep Altaria in the back so we can switch in and try to catch them on an Electro Shot. Base Altaria doesn't get killed by Dragapult. Mega Altaria doesn't get killed by Flash Cannon. To be exact, Flash Cannon deals 66% on a max roll to Mega Altaria. We're here to disrupt the rain for our Charlton. We're not here to kill our Charlton. For that, we have Snizzler. On the Torkoal side, Torkoal Indeedee as an example, we deal about 30% spread damage, and the rest of our team picks up the chip targets. In Charizard Venusaur, if we do not Mega, we can tank both Charizard and Venusaur. Anyway, there is many more calcs and combos you can check out on your own. I could go forever. The point is, we have a support, and we're also not a Pokemon that can be left ignored, because we chip everything for 20 to 45% per turn if we're left unchecked. It's also our Tailwind setter. It's our Dondozo counter, and it counters all weathers. Now, everything I say for version 1 will stay true about version 2 on the 2 next Pokemon. The only significant change between those two teams is that the first team has Mega Altaria, which is a better Pokemon for this kind of strategy. But this version, if Mega Meowstic keeps Psychic Surge, will get a different kind of strong presence into Meowstic Snizzler. So both teams are equally strong in different scenarios, but they follow the same logic and principle. So, both Meow or Indeedee are supposed to be the psychic terrain setter. Indeedee is a more supportive Pokemon, with Follow Me, Helping Hand, Trick Room and Rocky Helmet, while on the other hand, Meowstic is a more offensive choice. It has competitive before going into Mega Form, it has Expanding Force, Dark Pulse, Earth Power, great coverage, and can provide Trick Room. We will talk about the EV spread later. The Indeedee spread is the most basic you will find through any regulation. It increases the longevity for Indeedee to ensure you set up Trick Room, you use your Rocky Helmet as much as possible, and you stick around as much as possible to Helping Hand or Follow Me. Now, on the Meowstic EV spread, this spread is made so you're faster than base 95s with max speed and neutral nature. As an example, you're faster than Adamant Landorus, Adamant Gouging Fire, Gliscor, Mega Garchomp, Mega Baxcalibur, Mega Chandelure, Mega Darkrai, and stuff like that. This also means that you're faster than base 82 speeds with positive nature, like Tatsugiri, Gyarados, both base or Mega, Blaziken, Dragonite, Mega Meganium, Mega Electros, Mega Altaria, and other stuff like that. The rest is max special attack, so we can abuse our own psychic terrain if it gets it after all. And the bulk is pretty similar to Ndidi, if you notice the hit points, defense and special defense between those two Pokemon. They're really similar. Meowstic is a bit behind in bulk by a few points. Next up, we have Armarouge. It's the same set for both teams. If you've been around the Regulation 8s, you have probably seen this set. Flash Fire, Power Herb, Meteor Beam. Max HP, max special defense, some speed. What's the point of this? The point is that you can play both in and out of Trick Room. The same concept as the Meowstic here. You can play both in and out of Trick Room. It's tough to play with 124 base in Trick Room, but it is something that's quite possible, considering that we have a really low speed investment, and you will use Trick Room on Meowstic versus really specific matchups, versus Tailwind, versus Soundrush, versus Unburden, and stuff like that, so you would still be able to use it. Anyway, back to Armarouge. If you've been around Scarlet and Violet, Armarouge had two sets for the most part, Life Orb and Power Herb. There was weakness policy, but we do not talk about that. Looking at the meta right now, and the Pokemon that are used, there is a lot of flying, there is a lot of ice, there is a lot of fire. Meteor Beam looks so strong, hitting all of those types for super effective with a really nice base power and giving you a +1. Also ensures that you hit ice types with a Surefire hit without having to rely on Heat Wave. White Guard is here because of all the moves that you have seen and feared. Heat Wave, Expanding Force, Muddy Water, Hyper Voice, Earthquake, Blizzard, anything. You want to be able to stop them, at least for a turn. Killing the momentum of an Expanding Force team can be detrimental. So this concludes today's team, and my shot at shutting down weather, while also threatening the weather abusers. The next teams I'm gonna show you, I'm not gonna go too much in depth on this video, but I feel like they're great honorable mentions. Japanese Sandstorm style teams have been around for a long time, and in Regulation 8 they have been really effective. I dug up this team from my list of teams, so I can tell you who created this, but looking at Tyranitar, which looks like a great choice right now, Garchomp, which is really threatening and can also be replaced with Excadrill if you want. The normal version of the team ran a Tailwind Salamence. We replaced it with a Mega Tailwind Salamence and a pretty old spread, I believe it was Generation 6 that used to run this. Mixed Salamence with Double Edge, Hyper Voice, and when you go into Mega Salamence, you get Aerolite, which means that both Double Edge and Hyper Voice become Stab, and you have both a spread move and a single target nuke. Corviknight, it's a really nice set. Having Meteor Armor is one of the Intimidator scarers, especially next to Milotic. Having both Corvi and Milotic is something that allows you to run Life Orb on Garchomp. The set is pretty common, bulk up, Brave Bird, Body Press, nothing to write home about, but it's here to stick and it's here to threaten people. Now, I run back to when I was talking about competitive being relevant to punish Intimidate users. Just having a Milotic on your team makes Life Orb Garchomp more threatening, because your opponent has to play into your own mind game. If you're bringing Milotic, if you're bringing Corviknight, if you're bringing both, do they get to run Intimidate, or will they get punished by both Milotic and Corviknight? Your form of damage control, aka Pseudo Intimidate, is Flame Body from Volcarona. Milotic also acts as a glue to the team, having Haze to counter Dondozo, LakeTwo, which is a form of healing that supports your Garchomp to stay around longer and use Life Orb longer and deal more damage effectively. And Volcarona, which is the classic Rage Powder, Heat Wave, Struggle Bug, Flame Body Citrus bullshit you have seen again and again. It's really tough to play around this defensive core while having this offensive core. I believe this will be one of the best teams to play around, and the Pokemon you can use are really flexible. For the next teams, I had a theory that someone I met on ladder also had. We stopped Dragapult from being a menace in Violet by using Terra, Fairy and Steel, both really common defensive Terras that were not directly to counter Dragapult, but they managed to do it. If you haven't caught up yet, there are not Terras for Pokemon Champions, and there is a lot less Fairy and Steel Pokemon that we care about. The main problem for Dragapult is faster dragons and Metagross, which we will manage. So, the concept of this team, because all these mons are pretty interchangeable. The first one is fast guy hits hard. Second guy is misdirection. Third guy is Dragapult hits hard. Fourth guy, a steel Pokemon to hit fairies that could wall Dragapult. Fifth guy, support. And the last guy, the person who's here to clean up the mess after Dragapult has chipped up everyone, the person who threatens Metagross. What I saw on the ladder was this version. Fast guy who hits hard. Misdirection. Dragapult hits hard. Steel type to deal with fairies. Support in Icy Wind instead of Tailwind. Guy to clear after the Dragapult mess. As you can see, the idea behind those teams is pretty common. All those Pokemon are interchangeable in their own roles. You can have Sinistcha instead of Volcarona or Clefairy. I have a really strong theory that if we took both of those teams and we made them kiss, we could get a really strong team. But I will keep that for another video. For now, keep in mind that the first version uses no Megas, which means that it can be played on day one just by transferring the Pokemon from Pokemon Home without having to buy a Megastone. Anyway, this video is not per se to give you an exact team to play, which you could totally do, the Pokepastes are on the description, but to give you some level of a perspective, to put some ideas in your head, to help you work out some teams, to get a better idea of what people will play when you start playing Champions, to forewarn you about weather, about Intimidate, and how it will be present or not, or what to do against it, about what other regulation it looks like. If you've played the Regulation 8, you would be really familiar with this format. You already have some core basics to play this format. Anyway, this was fun to make. I'm really happy to make teams to showcase some sets and some ideas that could be crazy. I'm not saying Hippodon is gonna be the next meta breaker, but I'm just saying it could be a nice idea. I'm not saying Altare is the best mega out there, because it's not. Totally it's not. But it is a nice idea. It's something that you will not see quite often, but it could have success. I'm here to show you something different, to broaden your horizons a bit, so you can test out and make your own stuff. I might make another video like this before Champions comes out. I have a tournament on Saturday, so I don't know if I have time for that. Otherwise, I will see you on the 8th of April with the release of Pokemon Champions. We might do a stream, otherwise we will post a lot of videos. Thank you for tuning in. See you again.